sea pearl cut through the still waters, the horizon ahead endless and wide. The storm had passed, but the crew remained on edge. The whispers of the black tide had faded, but there was an unsettling tension in the air. The calm was not to be trusted. As captain, I knew better than anyone that the sea has a way of lulling you into a false sense of safety before it strikes again. The treasure was gone, the curse partially lifted, but there were forces at work far beyond our understanding, and I wasn't about to let my guard down just yet. It had been 2 days since the black tide receded, and the crew had settled into a quiet routine. The men had patched up the ship, but the damage was visible. The mast had been repaired hastily, and the cannons were badly misaligned. We needed to find a port, but no one wanted to risk going near civilization just yet. I stood on the deck, staring out at the expanse of ocean, my mind still reeling from the events. The island, the Kraken, the chest. Everything had felt like a nightmare, yet here we were, still sailing. "Captain," Briggs called from behind me. "We've got a problem." I turned to him. "What is it?" "Something's calling us," he said, his brow furrowed. "Calling?" I raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "Not in the way you think," Briggs replied, his voice tense. "It's like a song. Soft at first, like the sound of the wind, but now it's louder, coming from the west." I felt it then. A faint melodic hum on the air, as if the ocean itself was singing. "Damn it," I muttered under my breath. It's the Sirens. The Sirens were legends, dangerous creatures of the deep, who lured sailors to their doom with their haunting songs. No one knew if they were real or just sailors' tales, but I had heard enough to recognize the signs. The sea growing unnaturally still, the whisper of a melody on the wind. "The crew needs to stay below deck," I ordered, my voice firm. "Get the cannons ready, but don't fire unless I say so, and no one leaves the ship unless it's with me." Briggs nodded, his expression grim. "Aye, Captain." As the song grew louder, the atmosphere grew heavier. The sea itself seemed to shift, swirling with an eerie calm that sent a chill down my spine. The air was thick with the scent of salt and something else. Something sweet. I gripped the wheel, my eyes scanning the water. The crew had fallen silent, each man feeling the pull of the song, each of them struggling against the temptation to dive into the sea. "Don't listen to it," I shouted, though I wasn't sure if I was warning them or myself. Briggs came to my side, his face pale. "Captain, we've got to do something. The men, some of them are starting to. Keep them below deck," I barked, my voice cracking through the tension. "We'll weather this storm the way we always do." But even as I spoke, I could feel my own resolve beginning to falter. The song was soothing, its melody wrapping around me like a spell. It beckoned me, promised me secrets of the deep, of treasures beyond imagining. No, I fought it. I had a ship to protect. But the song, it was so beautiful, so tempting. The first of the creatures appeared in the distance, gliding effortlessly across the water. It was a woman, or at least it appeared to be. Long flowing hair that shimmered like the ocean's surface, eyes dark and deep like the abyss itself. She was beautiful, impossibly so. Then another appeared beside her, then another. They circled the ship, their voices weaving together into a haunting harmony. The crew stirred, their eyes glazed over, their hands twitching toward the ropes, toward the water. I felt the pull, too. It was like nothing I'd ever experienced, a longing, a hunger, deep within me. "Hold fast," I shouted, my voice hoarse. "Do not look into their eyes." But the Sirens didn't just sing, they spoke. "Captain Morrigan," one of them called, her voice a melodic purr that seemed to vibrate through my very bones. "Come to us. We have much to offer. Power, wealth, endless seas to sail. Come, let us show you." The words were a temptation. I could almost feel the promise of everything I'd ever wanted. Power, endless treasure, immortality. But I could feel it now, something deeper beneath the surface of the ocean, something ancient and furious. The sirens might offer their gifts, but the sea itself would demand its price. "No," I muttered, shaking my head. "No, I will not fall for this." The sirens drew closer, their voices becoming more urgent, more insistent. They began to climb aboard the ship, their forms shimmering as they moved across the deck, their movements fluid and hypnotic. I drew my sword. "Get back," I roared. "I'll not fall to your lies." But the sirens merely laughed, a sound that made my blood run cold. They circled around me, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. One of them reached out, her fingers brushing against my arm. I felt a shock of ice run through me, and for a moment I thought I might sink into the sea with them. But then something snapped within me. I had faced worse than these creatures, monsters of the deep, storms that could tear a ship apart, and survived. This would be no different. I raised my sword high, shouting, "I am Captain Edward the Kraken Morrigan. I command this ship, and no creature, god, or demon will sway me." The sea roared, as if in answer to my defiance. The sirens hesitated, their song faltering for the briefest of moments. That was all I needed. With a roar of fury, I swung my sword through the air, slashing at the nearest siren. She shrieked, her form flickering and shifting like water, but she did not retreat. The others closed in, their faces twisted in rage. But my men were not far behind. The crew, drawn out from below deck, saw the danger in my eyes and rushed to defend me. We fought back with all our might, striking the sirens with swords and axes. But the creatures were too fast, too elusive. They vanished into the water, only to reappear elsewhere on the ship. In the chaos, I caught sight of Briggs, holding a harpoon at the ready. He locked eyes with me and nodded. "Do it," I shouted. Briggs hurled the harpoon with all his strength, and it struck one of the sirens dead in the chest. She screeched, her body dissolving into mist as the other creatures recoiled. The others fled, disappearing beneath the waves with a final, haunting chorus of their song. The sea was still again. The sirens were gone, leaving nothing but silence in their wake. The crew was shaken but alive, their bodies covered in cuts and bruises from the battle. I stood at the helm, breathing heavily, my hand gripping the wheel tightly. "We've won, Captain," Briggs said, his voice full of relief. "For now," I muttered, "but don't think this is over. The sea never forgets. We're not done yet." As we sailed into the night, I knew one thing for certain. The sea was far from predictable. And as long as we sailed the Sea Pearl, we would face dangers worse than sirens, worse than the Kraken. But no matter what came next, I knew we would face it together. The legend of Captain Edward the Kraken Morrigan and the Sea Pearl was just beginning.